My name's Erin Pine. I'm a nurse. I graduated from William Patterson in 2009 with my bachelor's degree. And for the last 3 years, I've been working at Stafford Township School District as a school nurse there. This year has just been crazy because of COVID. And so I've been, with the different schedules with my kids' school, I switched to the float position so that I could be home in time for my kids to get home. So I had the opportunity to visit all of the schools in the district. And so district-wide, I have just seen horrible things with these masks for the kids. In every school, I have not seen a single child wearing them correctly, or staff. And I've seen so much pain with them and suffering with just on a multifaceted level. Kids learn how to be adults by recognizing faces and facial expressions and playing with each other. And it's just not something that they're able to do this year, especially for the little kids. We have preschoolers 3, 4, and 5, 6 years old, of course, all of them, wearing masks. So just that part of it is awful. And then, we see the kids who are also having anxiety and having, depression in kindergarten and first, second grade that you just don't normally see. Something with they'll come in with just stomach aches and crying and having, nausea. I actually had a first grader come to me and say that she felt like something really bad was going to happen and that the mask made her feel scared. And when she thinks about it, her stomach starts to hurt and she throws up. So she was sent to me because she threw up in class and she told me, "I'm not sick." She said, "I'm just really nervous." So, to hear that from a first grader it's just heartbreaking, and it's all day long. You see these kids who normally wouldn't be having this problem. They shouldn't have this problem. It's not something that, the masks unfortunately don't prevent them from getting COVID, because the viruses are so small that it can't be stopped with a mask, with cloth mask or a surgical mask. Even an N95 mask is not effective in catching COVID. So making these kids wear them for 6 or 7 hours a day is awful. Besides that aspect of it, you have that these masks are not being worn correctly. The correct way to wear a mask, you have to, wash your hands before you put it on. Touch it only in the clean spots of the ear loops and you put it on your face. Then you don't touch the outside, you wash your hands again. You never touch the outside. The outside of the mask is supposed to be, considered dirty. So if you're touching the outside of the mask, now it's dirty. And if you haven't marked the outside of the mask, now when you take it off and you put it back on your face, that dirty surface is now on your face. Bacteria is very large, and so it's bigger than the pore size of the mask. So the bacteria gets clogged up. Instead of coming through the mask, it gets clogged up in it. And when you're not using and reusing your mask correctly, it's getting filled up with bacteria. All of that is growing in there, and just, the kids, they take their mask off and they throw it in their book bag, or they put it on their desk so they can eat their lunch or their snack quickly, and then they put it in their pocket or wherever, on the ground even, and then they put it back on their face. So this bacteria-filled thing is now sitting on their face for 6 or 7 hours. I had another student that came in to me and said he couldn't breathe in his handkerchief mask. He was using like a bandana type thing. So he had it tied up, and I said, "Well, take it off." So we put it down, and I said, "Why don't we put a different kind of mask on you?" And he said, "Okay." I said, "Take that one off." "I can't take it off," he said. He said, "I've been wearing this for 2 weeks. I said, "Are you serious? You're telling me that you've been wearing this bandana mask for 2 weeks? And he said, "Yeah, it's tied so tight I can't get it off." So we tried to take it off. We literally had to cut the bandana off and throw it away. And we gave him a surgical mask to replace it. But this is the type of thing that we're seeing. They're not being worn correctly. Even if they were being worn correctly, they're not effective. But because they're being so inappropriately, unsafely used, it's really dangerous to these kids to wear them physically, besides all the emotional and developmental and emotional damage that's being done. So that's where I took a stand, and I said, you know what, I need to let people know that I'm not comfortable with this. And so I did let my supervisor know that I was uncomfortable, and that, I let her know my concerns for the health and safety of the students regarding the masks and of the staff, because none of them are wearing them correct either. So that my email to her was just to let her know of these different things and then to give her some education about the masks and how they're supposed to be used and how, what the real purpose is for them, and what's not supposed to be used for them. She responded with, well, it's mandated and we are going to follow the mandate from Governor Murphy, and that includes wearing masks. So I kind of was shut down right away on any kind of dialogue that could have been brought up and discussed about this. And so my next follow-up email to her was, well, I don't feel comfortable as a nurse following through with, enforcing this mandate that I know is harmful to children. And I asked her if I could follow up with the superintendent, if we could have a discussion about my concerns, regarding following a dangerous mandate and enforcing it for children when I know I've seen firsthand that it's very damaging and hurtful and harmful to children. And I didn't receive a response from that. So a couple days went by and it just grew and more in me that this is wrong. We have to do something. Something has to stop. And I didn't think that voicing my concerns was going to make a difference. So I decided that I was going to do my own form of a protest, I guess you could say. On Friday of last week, I messaged my superintendent, my principal, and my supervisor, and I let them know that I was no longer going to be wearing a mask at work. So I went to work on Friday without a mask, and then Monday I went to work without a mask. Monday morning I was called in and I was told that I was being suspended and I was escorted out of the building. So that's where we're at now. And my goal here for this whole thing of telling everybody about the situation and is really to get people to wake up and to realize that this mandate isn't safe. It's not good for kids. It's not good for adults. It's not good for anybody. We shouldn't be following it. We shouldn't be doing this. It's harmful. It's dangerous, and we need to stop. We need to stop complying with this. There's a time when we need to stand up in civil disobedience and protecting children right now. That's what we need to do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm hoping that it will grow, that, people will rise up and start saying that they're not going to allow this anymore for their children or for themselves. So.
Absolutely. Well, I commend what you're doing.
Thank you.
Really awesome. I think Hirsch mentioned there was a story about a child, and this might have been the hinge pin for you, I don't know, but the vomiting in a mask?
Yeah. So I had a student, this happened, I think, one time in the Ocean Acres school too, with a second grader, came down. She vomited in class and she came down in her mask. And when she came down, I was taking care of another student with a recess wound. So I was like, oh, sit down, I'll be right with you. And she was crying and I said, take off the mask, it's okay. So I went over to go see her and have her take off the mask, and the mask was filled with vomit inside of it. So instead of taking the mask off to walk down to me in the hallway, they had her wear, and I don't know, it could be that they didn't, I can't imagine that the teacher encouraged her to do that. So must not have known that she had vomit inside her mask. But just the fear that she felt she had to wear that to come down to me, and she couldn't take it off because she was going to be walking and being around. That the fear that these kids have with these masks, it's not just, it's major. They're afraid. They think that, I've had a kid come down to me before, forgot their mask at home, and she was just a mess. She was crying, hysterical. I'm so upset. I forgot my mask. I need a replacement mask. I'm going to get COVID. If my teacher said, if I don't have a mask, I'm going to get COVID, and I don't have a mask today. And I said, okay, calm down. We're going to get you one. You can wear this one. I gave her one, and she, took a minute for her to calm down and really relax and be able to get back to class.
Would you consider the mask mandate in schools to be child abuse?
I would. Yeah, I think that the mask mandate in schools is 100% child abuse. I see the damage firsthand of what's being done to our kids, and I can't just sit and be complicit in anymore. So that's why I took this stand. When I made my concerns known, it didn't make a difference, and I saw that it probably wasn't going to, unless I did something that was larger. Yep. So that's why I took this stand to say, I'm not wearing a mask at work anymore. And that's why, I'm trying to fight. This fight is for the kids so that we can all start waking up and saying, no more on this. We're not doing it anymore.
Well, Erin, thank you very much. I'm going to join you. I'll be there on May 10th at the very least.
Okay.
And we're going to see what other people that are out there that I think are having similar situations in other counties, and see how we can make sure that we gather all this information and present to the people of New Jersey what this governor has been doing
Right.
that they don't talk about. You know, it's one thing if it's like a nursing home, but kids are not affected by COVID
No, they're not. It's
anywhere to any degree, which makes this acceptable. I mean,
kids are, they have a 99.997% survival rate with COVID. And when they do get COVID, the symptoms are usually very mild. We're talking like maybe a low-grade fever, maybe some runny nose. Not saying that there's not ever going to be a case where a child has a different case like that, more moderate or severe case, but the majority, 99.997% survival rate. They're almost unaffected by COVID. So to require the most unaffected group of people to be masked in school, to do gym class in school, running 1.5 miles in a mask.
no way.
Masks were never meant to be used that way.
Never. Yep.
It's not appropriate. It's child abuse, like you said, and it needs to stop. So that's what the goal is.
Well, thank you very much, Erin. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out.